Mike's Daily Podcast.
FM episode 1941, 1941. That's the movie. That's the Spielberg movie.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
That I was discussing on the last podcast from Podcaster Valley 10. But today we're in Podcastro Valley. Yay. My son, you must go see Janet Jackson in concert, 'cause she doesn't sing, she lip syncs, and then she starts to flirt with Justin Timberlake. Wait a minute.
Mike's Daily Podcast.
1941 was the film where it was a
Mike's
1979 movie
Daily
that took place in 1941.
Podcast.
Am I confused yet?
Yeah!
John Candy was in it. John Belushi, Ned Beatty. Oh, let's see. Robert Stuck. Christopher Lee was in it too. Everybody was in this movie. Pardon me. Okay, sorry. There's somebody handed me a note that says, Mike, you're live right now. I know that. It's called Mike's Daily Podcast, and I'm live from it on the show tape here. Oh, boy. I don't know. I'm just saying prima donna time. I've been starting the past couple shows with my little talks about how it amazes me how full of themselves some people get. But you know what? That's like, why you share that? Why do you gotta go there? It's not important for you to go there. Why do you gotta be why you gotta be so rude? I guess is the question. But some people just feel like they need to share in this world. And that's what has created Taylor Swift's career. Not Trisha Yearwood's career. Taylor Swift. And why was Trisha Yearwood not up there singing as part of that big Women of Country Music performance at the award show recently? You had Martine McBride, you had a lot of the big country stars.
And here's today's podcast picture.
Loretta Lynn waved from the crowd. Bless her heart. She's not doing that well, it looks like. But she was there. She made it. People giving her thanks, showing her love. Dolly Parton, still amazing. She sounds just like she did. That's how she's always sounded. And pretty much how she's always looked, thanks to the wonders of plastic surgery. And she'll be the first to admit it. She goes, it costs a lot of money to look this trashy. Good for her. So, yes, it was a whole group of people. Where was Faith Hill, though? Where was Shania Twain? Where were the Dixie Chicks? What, Basil? Yes, I know you're upset the Dixie Chicks weren't being represented up there on stage. After all they've given to country music. Oh, but people hate them so much because of what they said on foreign soil about a president. Just look at what people said about the president that came after that president. And you get the idea. But I'm not going to go into all of that right now, and it's either here nor there, up there, anywhere. Basil and I had a nice little walk around the neighborhood, sort of. We went up the neighborhood as far as we could go. Hey, I have a couple stories, and it looks like I've been handed a newspaper as well. People just handing me things. And that's what makes this podcast special, is being handed stuff. And having your headphones tangled around how did this happen? And see, why do I go into this stuff? This isn't important. You don't care about this stuff, do you? That my headphones are wrapped around the mic stand and I'm about to electrocute myself? Does that matter? Heck no, it does not. So recently, I pulled a paper. This is the Pioneer. I believe this is the paper that comes from the Cal State East Bay. And I think, was this the thing? About Halloween candy? I guess. Wow. All right, well, it says, Halloween is a time for people of all ages to, blah, blah, blah. I plan on sifting through the candy, blah, blah, blah. Every year, there are stories of people finding nails, drugs, razor blades, and pins in their children's Halloween candy. In 2014, a baggie of methamphetamine was found in an 8-year-old girl's candy stash in Hercules, north of here, about 45 minutes. Parents should continue to be cautious of what their children are consuming. Tampering with candy has a long history. There was a guy named Ronald Clark O'Brien, and yes, I know Halloween was like almost a month ago, but this is fascinating. Ryan Clark O'Brien, nicknamed the Candy Man, of Houston, Texas, laced his son's pixie sticks with cyanide. Wow. His son, Timothy, died at 10 p.m. on Halloween in 1974. That's how far back this goes. As a result of eating cyanide-laced pixie sticks acquired while trick-or-treating. O'Brien was eventually convicted and executed for murdering his own son. And that is the end of the murder podcast. But candy wrappers can also contain less harmful substances, such as laxatives. Yes, laxatives in candy wrappers. Or sleeping pills, but parents should also consider these as hazards. Unusual appearances, discoloration, small pinholes, or tears in wrappers, spoiled or unwrapped items are signs to pay attention to. And of course, you should also worry about allergies if your kids have them. Benadryl is good to have on hand for allergic reactions, says a doctor from Kaiser. More severe cases that need EpiPens may require prescriptions. Try to stay away from homemade Halloween candy. And I was going to make some homemade Halloween candy, but I'm not supposed to make homemade Halloween candy. Why am I not supposed to make Halloween candy? As we go outside cafe anyway, we're bringing you Mike's Daily Podcast somewhere in Podcastro Valley. Okay, well, here was the big story I wanted to get to about Halloween that I did not get to in days post-Halloween, and that is a Change.org petition created by the Halloween and Costume Association back in 2018 has been gaining popularity again in hopes to change Halloween celebration date across the U.S. What are we going to change it to? We're going to change it to sometime in summer? Where are we going to... Well, instead of October 31st, what it's been forever, they want to move it to the last Saturday of the month, to which my lovely lady friend says, why do kids got to ruin everything? This is all, and this podcast is for kids, and we love you children. And children, because YouTube says I have to make this podcast for children now. Children, you've ruined everything, and thank you for ruining everything, children, because this world is yours to ruin. This is all in an effort to make Halloween easier and safer on kids to celebrate Halloween. In their Change.org petition, the Halloween and Costume Association is a little under 1,000 signatures away from reaching their 150,000 signatures goal. The petition goes into detail about why the date change is needed, with some of the reasons being that having it always land on a Saturday will make it celebrating Halloween last longer. It will also... That's what we need. So I already have to act like... No, I can't say that. That's inappropriate. I have to act like a mole underground. There, that's pretty much... Moles are beautiful animals. I have to act like Puxacani Bill. That was a groundhog. Underground. I have to be underground whilst all the kids are trick-or-treating because I forgot to buy candy. And now I'll have to wait even longer. It will also be safer for children since they can celebrate during the daytime hours, too. The current Halloween date has common dangers associated with it, and the petition provides statistics and easier words to say of those dangers. Most of the support comes from parents who feel that if Halloween lands on a weekday, it's unfair for their children who only get to spend a few hours trick-or-treating, because then they got to go to bed. And you got all the people driving home from work. That's dangerous. The petition itself is directed towards President Donald Trump in hopes that he could provide the necessary authority in making this request into a reality. However, having this petition specifically aimed towards President Trump essentially is pointless, considering Halloween isn't a federally recognized holiday. Did you know that? As Bison Bentley would ask. Congress has statutorily established 11 permanent federal holidays, which are legally applicable only to federal employees and the District of Columbia, states a Senate.gov report on federal holidays. Additionally, each state in the U.S. has its own independent power of deciding what is considered a legal holiday. Unless there's enough support from a particular state, or even all 50 states, to make Halloween into a legal holiday, only then could it be considered to have the date changed. Okay, there you go. I just wanted to tell you that story, and now I want to throw this away. Oh, by the way, the Half Moon Bay Art and Pumpkin Festival, now that was a hoot. Once a year, that goes on, and I missed it. I wanted to talk to you today about... Here's some other notes that I wrote to myself. Walking against traffic in Castro Valley, where I'm bringing you this podcast from, because I walk home from BART sometimes, and it is so fun to walk against traffic because, or as some people say, because some people say that way, is when you're walking against traffic. I mean, on the sidewalk, idiot. I'm sorry, children. I didn't mean to call you an idiot. I meant to call you the greatest, most potentially fantastic foundation of our country that has ever lived. Thank you. Halloween should be on a weekend in order to make your life easier. And some people say easier. So what I'm saying is that as you're walking on the sidewalk home or wherever you are in your town, going opposite side of traffic on the sidewalk. You can do that, of course, as long as you're not in the road. And you're seeing the cars driving past you, right, on your right-hand side. And you can totally see the faces of the people in your town. And I think that's so important. You have to know where you live, and you have to understand the primordial soup of which you are oozing out of. The soup, the stew in which you are sitting in and basting. The oven in which you are basting. I cannot get an analogy out of this to save my life. A metaphor. The hot tub which you are enjoying as you are traveling forth and back in time. That, you have to see who is in that hot tub with you. Is it the Zooby Zooby Zoo girl from Mad Men? Is it Chris Robinson? Is it Chris Robinson? Christopher Robinson? I forget his name. Is it Ray Cordry? Who the hell else was in that? I mean, who the heck else was in that movie? Kids, don't ever say the word hell. Say H-E double hockey sticks, and you'll get your point across. At any rate, that's my little suggestion to you. Also, Nightmare Before Christmas, I mentioned this on the last show, was way ahead of its time. Just fantastic. And so much work. Somebody said this to me recently. Someone named Lana said this to me. It's hard to be down when you're always looking up. That is to say, as you are walking, let's say, in your hometown, walking home from BART, or whatever public transit you take, or wherever you're walking, don't look down at the sidewalk. Look up. Look up at the sky. It changes your whole demeanor. Of course, you trip and fall down and break your jaw. But still, it is a wonderful thing to keep in mind. It is a psychological... It does have a psychological effect when you're always looking up. physically looking up. It helps you. It helps with your posture, too. I wanted to get all that out of my note hole. And I did, and I'm ripping it all up because it's not needed anymore. Thank you for listening to quotes from my note hole. My cubby hole, whatever we call it. Note to self, whatever. What is this segment called? It's not a segment.
Now that's legit.
This fell flat. Did you notice how what I was just doing just now fell flat? It did. Because I got this piece of paper, and this person, I thought, oh, he's talking about trauma. All right, so trauma and drama, and leave your drama for your llama, as someone who I work with, Rob Black, likes to say. And Rob he was throwing a tizzy fit on the air because he's having some technological problems. And he's mad. And when he gets mad, he doesn't like it. He usually likes sound effects like this. And when he's mad, the sound effects distract him, and he's like, no sound effects. Okay, so back to this. This is what life is, folks. In the recording world, in the audio world, in the radio world, in the podcast world. Okay, so this guy's got a 2-day trauma conference called The Body Keeps the Score, Trauma Healing. And I think it's fascinating. And I don't know, maybe you should go see a therapist if you are suffering from trauma. I don't know that much about it. I've had some traumatic things happen, but there is ways to combat it. There's also ways to that now, like this guy who he was giving a webcast who was talking about differentiating between disruptive attachment and traumatic stress. See, that sounds good. Disrupted attachment. I don't know what that's about, but see, if this was something affecting me, I would go to somewhere and listen to somebody talk about this. Maybe my lovely lady friend would pop on the show and discuss this with me. Articulate the range of adaptations to trauma early in the life cycle. And this is why this is falling flat, is I have no idea what this is about. But you should also break down how adverse childhood experiences affect brain development, emotion regulation, and cognition. All right, well, this is something I was going to talk about, and now I have, and now I'm talking to people outside a cafe anyway, because we don't want this podcast to fall flat. We want it to fall round. I don't know, whatever the opposite is of that. Look who's out here. Hello, my commercial. It's Madame Rootabega. I don't know what you were just talking about. Oh, trauma. Yeah, that's pretty bad. It is. Have you ever had, anything bad happen to you? Yes. Did you find a way to get through the bad times? Yes. Okay. Was it through listening to this podcast? No. Oh, you cut me to the quick. Look who else is here. Also, hello there, Mike. This is Valentino, the parking attendant. And this is Bison Bentley. Do you know that? Mike, you have not given us the podcast picture today. Yeah, the podcast picture. Do you know that? I have not, even though Ariel announced it a little while ago. Oh, I am so behind. The podcast picture today would be a nice picture, as we will have of a place in the lovely town of Pleasanton. Yes, Pleasanton. It's not too far from where I am in Podcaster Valley. Sometimes I'm kind of broadcasting from Podcaster Valley in Pleasanton, but this is a picture of a cool little coffee place that I want to visit. My lovely lady friend was there, and, well, I'll just post a picture of it. Why not? I guess it's called... you can try and guess what it's called, and let me know what you think it is. You can call me 336MM Daily. That's 3 + 3 = 6 MM, as in Mike Matthews Daily, as in what this podcast has been now for 3 days. Look at that. Awesome. Next show, it'll be the wonderful Chely Shoehart, Floyd the Floorman, and John Deere the engineer. Tell all your friends about this podcast and spread it around the world like butter.
Mike's Daily Podcast is written and produced and performed by Mike Matthews. His podcast is super easy to find. Download or listen to his show and read his blog at MikesDailyPodcast.com.
Email Mike now at MikesDailyPodcast
MikesDailyPodcast@gmail.com. See you tomorrow. Bye.